Hi everybody, welcome to Neil Talks. My name's Neil and it's time to talk QI. This is another viewer request. All my QI reactions are viewer requests, so that's not a surprise. I'm excited because this episode's a David Mitchell episode that I have not seen, and there hasn't been enough David Mitchell in my life lately. I miss being able to do my Would I Lie to You reactions on the regular. I feel like I made a really good dent in that series, but I left some stuff on the table. I think I may visit a few episodes every series from now on, but I won't be diving back into that show as a regular reaction for copyright infringement reasons. Not quite sure, but the owners of those copyrights are particularly stringent about their use, even under what's widely accepted as fair use guidelines. But that's their prerogative. I'm going to respect that, and I have to find my David Mitchell content elsewhere because, man, is he my spirit animal. I love his rants, I love his intelligence, I love his barely bottled up rage at the minutia of daily life. I'm hoping we get some of that here. This is from Series L, it's episode 11, and it's called Lumped Together. And I think we get some Jimmy Carr, too.
Tonight, lice, love handles, and lingerie are all lumped together. Let's meet the lacy Jimmy Carr, the lusty Ronni Ancona.
Well, we've seen Ronnie before, I think.
The leggy
What is she known
Mitchell,
for? Love David.
And the lamentable Alan Davies. One of your buzzers has been investigated by the FBI. Let's listen to all of them and see if you can get some early points.
Derek and the Dominoes, maybe.
Your song, do you recognise it?
I don't know.
I did. I think I've heard those noises before, but I couldn't put words to it.
Is it the animals?
Louis.
Which I think was investigated by the FBI. Because I think they thought it was a drug reference. They couldn't figure out what the song was about.
Is it worse than drugs? No, it isn't. It's better than, well, it's sex.
Different from drugs.
Can be better and worse.
Yeah, you're right.
You know.
Stephen, why can't we do both?
One might assist the other.
What's sex again? Sorry.
They thought it had very lewd references. We can see what the lyrics actually were.
Okay.
Ah, on that ship, I dream she there. I smell the rose, in her hair.
Oh, very lewd.
Ban this filth.
What they thought was being sung was, and on that chair, I lay her there. I felt my boner in...
They wrote a song about my pre-show ritual on it.
The weird thing is, if you listen to it, you can see why they thought that.
Oh, now that I'm reading the lyrics, it totally sounds like that.
It says more about them than it does about the artist.
Exactly. You're so right. Well, that's early points then for Jimmy Carr, who got that the FBI investigated.
What's the name of the band? Was it the Animals? I don't think it was.
What did the man who
Tell me in the
invented
comments.
the lava lamp do for leisure? There he is.
That's John Malkovich.
It does look like John Malkovich.
That's totally John Malkovich.
Was he
A lech.
lover man?
Well, he was like
A lover man?
You know you said that out loud.
I know.
Actually, I'm going
Have
to
you got
make
one?
a lava lamp for your edification, pleasure and entertainment. So you pump the colour in, and I'm going to use Alka-Seltzer, or any effervescent hangover cure pill will do.
Are you going to say don't try this at home? I just
Well, you can actually. Honestly, it's not like a Mentos. It's not going to explode.
But you're sealing it in.
There we go.
That shouldn't be
Tap
good.
it on, and
you're
then there we are, beginning to get the effect. A lava lamp, ladies and gentlemen.
I feel like the Alka-Seltzer was just thrown in there to speed it up for television.
We inject colour in. I think.
Inject colour. We've all got different colours to make it thrilling.
Thrilling,
Don't
different
put
colours.
too much of the effervescent hangover cure.
I put all of it in.
Okay.
He just threw all the Alka-Seltzer. Why did you give Jimmy a whole
And
tube
I
of
just put a
Alka-Seltzer?
little of...
No,
Yeah,
put
just a
loads
little,
in. It's
just put a
brilliant.
little in, yeah.
It's happening. It's all
feed
happening in
it.
our corner.
You see, when did it explode now?
Hopefully.
I'm with David.
I'm a responsible adult. There has to be one on this programme.
Look at all these little balls.
I'm nervous of having them.
Stop saying that.
David's like venting his so it doesn't
much of
explode.
You said, don't put all the Alka-Seltzer in, and then Alan said, we're putting it all in. As a result. And I've gone along with him, and now I'm frightened.
You know the one
No!
You made me laugh, David. I told you before.
You're in trouble.
It's nothing funny about making people laugh. Maybe, but, oh,
So Mitchell's taken the lid off. It's not serious.
this is most unfortunate. At all.
I love how broad Stephen's
We all know why Aaron has industrial strength tissues. The inventor was Edward Craven Walker, who was... Let me read you what he said about the lava lamp. He said, it starts from nothing, grows possibly a little feminine, then a little bit masculine. It's a sexy thing.
He was having a lava, wasn't he?
He was...
Don't look at me like that.
Not angry, I'm just disappointed. Was he a swinger? Was he one of the
He
swingers?
was pretty much a
sort of-
swinger.
Oh, was he?
Pretty.
He directed nudist films.
He had to subsidise his porn-making habit with his lava lamp business.
We got the first naturist film that was on public release. That's the
That's
point.
not how you
They
do
don't know how
it.
to do it.
Is that one of his? Is that a still from one of his?
Actually, we've made that up, apparently.
Are those members of the
thinking
production
in the-
team? I don't think they're being paid enough
Those
to
are the
have to do
elves
that.
at
Couple
work.
of our elves.
That's not the image that springs into
No. Sun-starved, specky creatures who is...
I don't want to be unkind, but yes, I do.
Is one of those Phil Jupitus' daughter?
Do you know the name of the company that still sells the lava lamps?
It begins with a
Mathmos.
They've
That's
got a
absolutely
store,
right.
haven't they?
Do you know where that name comes from?
Barbarellas?
Barbarella.
Oh, yes.
Barbarella.
Yes, it was a seething lake of oily substances.
And Duran Duran comes from that movie as well.
It does indeed. And
At
so,
school, we used to call people who were good at maths
Mathmos.
mathmos.
Yeah, that's right. That's still used.
I like the idea at school you look down on anyone. Good at maths. Oh, bloody idiots.
No, I deemed it a term of respect. Wear your mathmo badge with pride. And they did wear badges.
Remind me about my math badge story when this episode's over.
And in order for the Western economy to prosper, small children have to buy pointless objects. And I always bought a badge, and that's how I expressed my personality.
How can I make sure that I dream about scantily clad women?
Be a male.
Look at a scantily clad woman just before you go to sleep.
You're along the right lines, yes. There was a Frenchman with the marvellous name of Marie-Jean Léon Lecoq, the Marquis d'Hervé...
Léon Lecoq.
Léon Lecoq.
No, those are Louis lyrics.
What are the medals for?
He's looking at a scantily clad lady right there.
What he would do is he would paint a scantily clad woman all day while chewing an orris root, and his servant would place, while he was asleep, some orris root in his mouth. Then he would have what is known technically as a lucid dream, a dream which you're aware of.
Presumably it was an improvement for the servant on what he was previously asked to do.
But there are ways you can do this for yourself without a servant. One of them is you check your watch regularly, being absolutely sure to look at the numbers, the numerals on the watch, when you're asleep. But you won't be able to see the numbers properly. And this forces you somehow to be aware that you're in a dream.
I can see a very serious flaw in this man's plan.
Okay, let's hear
What
David.
happens if one day, when you're awake, you put on a watch that doesn't have numbers, just has little lines, and you look at it later in the day and you think, oh, brilliant, I'm in a dream.
I imagine you would quietly get on with your work.
I'm afraid you're more likely to have one if you are a computer gamer as well. Which is perhaps not surprising, spending your time in that sort of, grand thefting. Whom did did your great-great-great-great-grandmother throw her pants?
So what-
Victorian.
if that's Scouse, though, that could be the 70s.
Wow.
Can you do the next, like, 5 minutes in a Scouse voice so that we won't get letters of complaint? Or I can only do Scouse if I say, I want some chicken and a can of coke.
That's all they say, isn't it? Sorry, no.
Get on to something.
Disgraceful.
Let's get on to Israel or something less intense.
Is Scouse Liverpool or am I way off? Please help me.
It was a celebrity of the time.
He was a celebrity, and the most famous pan-throwing receptor was Tom Jones.
Do you go out with extra pants?
The gesture is meaningless unless they're the pants you were wearing for function. I mean, you just brought a bag of
But
other
what if
pants.
We still haven't clearly
Garibaldi.
approached. Not Garibaldi.
So we're talking
See,
about...
you're in the right area with
He was
music.
pop-
The most extraordinary performer of his day.
Liszt.
Franz Liszt is the right answer.
Really?
Absolutely. Well done. And their husbands trying to restrain them. These women, some of them fainting, throwing kisses. You can see they're absolutely rapturous. And they were completely astounded by this man.
Was he as good as Liberace? I knew that what I'm saying. Look at him, he's livid.
He had affairs with a lot of people, including Lola Montez. It's an extraordinary Irish woman who'd had an affair with Ludwig of Bavaria and caused a revolution in Bavaria, in fact. There she is. And he then, amazingly, Liszt became an abbé, an abbot, a man of the cloth. He was very thin and tall. He had Olga Janina, who was a former pupil with whom he'd had a fling, who pursued him all over Europe and eventually got so upset and hysterical that she stalked him and tried to stab him and commit suicide.
It's a very
Extraordinary.
odd thing, that. The idea that like, the guy that killed John Lennon was such a huge fan of John Lennon. It's a very weird thing when
Rich
people
man
get
kills
so...
the thing he loves.
How many fans have you got, Jimmy?
enough to be worried.
Enough to be worried.
It's a lovely level of fame, a comedian, I think. People come up and tell you jokes, but no one's ever outside your house going, I made you a cake.
It's always the Daily Mail, Jimmy. They're always at
The Justin Bieber of his day, that's hardly right. Come on. But, you know...
All right,
he was
Harry
a
Styles.
Great... Stop it. Tell me, how many leaves are in this picture?
That's going to be easy.
Sparkle.
6.
It's going to be 5 and a creepy crawly.
5 and a creepy crawly is
Creepy
the
crawly
right...
is the technical
Yeah.
term. He is pretty good, though, isn't he?
He is, he's very impressive. Insects, of course, get eaten whole by birds, and so his strategy is to look like that, but the problem is he occasionally gets bits of himself nibbled by caterpillars. And so...
Better than being snatched up by a bird.
So he looks like his own lunch.
Yes.
Disturbed. If I
Definitely.
looked at myself in the mirror and I looked like some delicious mashed potato, you know, in a way I do. It doesn't do my self-esteem any good.
We have also the satanic leaf-tailed gecko, which looks like an
Satanic?
autumnal leaf.
That is
Isn't that good?
That's awesome.
extraordinary.
Because it's in the dry, deciduous forests of Madagascar.
But can he only come out in autumn?
Well, they are dry
that's right,
forests.
yeah.
So I think he's probably all year round. It's kind of okay to be on this kind of. Really.
Either that or living in the 70s, he'd be fine, wouldn't he?
Yeah, it would.
Or they don't exist and someone's drawn eyes on a
A
leaf.
lot of earth tones.
There's a plant that's a master of disguise. See if you can spot which plant.
Looks like a badger. Well, I mean, I would say if it's trying to not look like a plant, it's failed.
One of those leaves is actually a totally different species, and it's made itself look like that species. It tries to look like a leaf that isn't very digestible or pleasant, because it itself is. And so it has learnt how to look like something that is not tasty.
Why didn't it learn not to be tasty? Well, the deliciousness is a given. Did chocolate sauce evolve to look like diarrhea?
So that people wouldn't eat
Yeah,
it.
he sort of go, oh, it might be diarrhea. This seems like quite a nice restaurant. I doubt it is diarrhea.
But
Let me give it a sniff first.
Where did the 40 shoplifting elephants hide their loot?
40 shoplifting.
cave.
You like Alibaba's thieves? Yeah, 40.
And the 40
In
thieves.
their trunks.
It was just
They took their name from an area of London that has the word elephant in it, which would
Elephant
be
and Castle.
Castle.
Elephant and Castle.
That's actually a neighborhood. It's not just a pub.
They were a gang of shoplifters, and they had special clothing made, and special muffs and special false hands and all kinds of things.
Great. Foil in your coats.
Yeah, any number of clever little
Means it
techniques.
does when you go out, doesn't go bleep bleep. And tell them how they get caught.
really serious
Does that work?
shoplifters called the oysters. And they called them up and said, why are you called the oysters? Is it something to do with, because you kind of clam things shut over you? So, no, because we oyster stuff, isn't it? In 2013, not that long ago, the second tallest elephant in India was arrested for murder.
Did it run amok? Because that's what they do. Isn't
They
it?
always run amok,
They
that's
run
the
amok.
phrase.
There was an elephant that was hung. Is that the one you're talking about? The elephant that was hung?
I think they're all pretty well hung.
Now I'm wondering whether amok is a Hindi word.
There's a famous story like from Pakistan to Afghanistan. There was a
Any
famous
edit?
smuggler who was like used to smuggle
Etymologist
things across
still
the
there?
border.
Right.
And he was known as a brilliant smuggler. And they used to stop him at border control, and they would check these elephants and do like, what have you got here? And they could never find the contraband. And eventually he was retiring. What were you smuggling all those years? He went, elephants.
So the 40 elephants were lady shoplifters with lots of loot in their muffs. Who has the world's largest love handles, and what do they use them for?
Eric Pickles.
Don't know that reference.
Blue whale?
Not the blue whale.
But I'm close.
You are.
A barnacle.
It's a whale, it's a whale. And it begins with a B.
Blue whale.
Beluga?
What's the
Big
most
whale.
famous and expensive kind of caviar?
Beluga.
Beluga whale.
Yeah, but beluga caviar doesn't come from the beluga whale for obvious reasons. It's a mammal.
Beluga whale, no! It is all I can do!
He's very chirpy. They have no dorsal fin, and amazing.
I haven't got a dorsal fin!
Let me tell you my beluga story when I'm done, too. I gotta talk about math badges and beluga whales.
I don't feel the cold. I don't feel it.
They don't because of their blubber.
It's all the blubber.
And they
Human left handles, baby.
they control their love handles with special muscles, so that's how they move around, and that's how they,
That's how I roll.
That's how they. Exactly right.
It's like Richard Attenborough's programmes have been revoiced by South Park.
There is no show that wouldn't be improved by being
There's one in Baltimore.
Just by that guy pointing at it in the front there.
Yeah, but
Look at that. In case you haven't spotted it. There's a whale. The other guy's pointing as well. Darling, there he is. Spotted. There he is.
Where is it?
You can't see. He's there. He's there.
Well, I don't recognise anything that's not wearing a hat.
all that we caught, we left behind, and carry away all that we did not catch. What am I talking about?
What are you talking about?
It's a riddle given to a man of mythic status, so much so we don't even know if he existed. An oracle told him that he would die on the island of Ios and that he should beware the riddles of young children. He sang poems to a lyre. Homer. And it's Homer we're thinking of. And Homer supposedly, in this story, went to Ios where he encountered a group of fisher boys.
He went to Ios, but the guy just said don't go.
I know, but
just
this always
died.
happens in Greek myth. He asked them what they'd caught, and they gave him this riddle. He slipped, cracked his head, died.
Should have gone to Argos.
They should have gone to
What was the answer?
Get everything there.
Argos, the chain, they call their staff Argonauts to this day.
Oh, do they?
No.
It is the name of Toronto's football team. Canadian football. The Argonauts.
The solution is lice. You catch the lice in your hair, you leave them behind.
Yes.
And you carry away those you don't catch because they're stuck in your hair.
The nits.
But I've got the Essex book, one of the great Anglo-Saxon
Oh, I've
books.
got an Essex
it's
riddle.
filled with riddles. No,
How do you turn the lights on after sex? Open the car
Open the
door.
Exeter books, written in the 10th century, contains more than 90 riddles, most of which are rather rude. Here's one. My stem is erect. I stand up over the bed, hairy somewhere down below. A peasant's daughter lays her hand on me, seizes me, red, plunders my head, confines me in a stronghold. Wet be that eye.
My junk.
Is it plant?
What plant wets your eye? And is hairy down below when you pull it out of the ground.
A
Onion.
novelty.
An onion.
Audience? A curiosity hangs by the thigh of a man under its master's cloak. It is pierced through in the front. It is stiff and hard, and when the man pulls up his own robe above his knee, he means to poke with the head of his hanging thing, that familiar hole of matching length, which he has often filled before.
Just kiss me, Steve.
By his thigh.
It's a
Is it
hilt,
keys?
to hilt
Is it
of
keys in
a
a hole?
sword.
Keys is the right answer to key.
Ah.
The job for today, let's find an incredibly rude way of referring to a key.
And they were presumably religious figures because they were reading and writing in the 10th century.
Those dirty, dirty Christians.
How many Spartans died at the Battle of Thermopylae?
Oh,
300 theoretically, but that's I don't want to.
300.
Yeah.
Well, I saw
299 because one guy went back.
Because there weren't just Spartans there.
Sparta!
There were...
300 of them, plus their king, played by Gerard Butler, who was
Spartan!
called...
the 301st.
His name was...
Leonidas,
He was the
come on.
first. Leonidas, if you... Only 299 Spartans died, though, so at least 2 who didn't. Aid against
So
them.
much effort and not put your pants on.
They were ashamed.
They were desperately ashamed. One called, rather wonderfully, Pan-Titties. There was an MP who was introduced to Churchill, whose name was Bossum. And Churchill said neither one thing nor the other. Pantites went off to deliver a diplomatic message, apparently, an embassy, and he hanged himself from shame when he got back and saw that he was the only survivor. In fact, he wasn't the only survivor, because Eurytus couldn't fight because of an eye infection.
Yeah, he was the guy with the patch that was sent back to deliver that rousing speech at the very end of 300. 100% historically accurate, I'm sure.
The father of history, what's he called?
Herodotus.
It's because it must have been a lot easier when he was around. I'm not having a go at him.
No, it's a very fair
But less
point.
things had happened back then.
Fewer things.
Yes.
I think.
Frickin' pedantic.
Common usage.
It's so like being back at school. It's unbelievable.
Apparently you can say less or if you want to now.
Apparently you can just say what you like these days. Apparently that's
You can
the new
literally
thing.
say less if you want.
Apparently you're not allowed to scream idiot at people. What was the point in getting an education at all? I know how to use the apostrophe. Apparently now it doesn't matter.
You know what? I am pedantic about apostrophes, so I get it. But I do screw up less and fewer every so
I want
often.
the time it took me to learn that back.
You need to be less bothered about this, or fewer bothered. You need to be fewer upset.
What type of birds did the Birdman keep in his cell in Alcatraz?
A canary.
A canary, or canaries.
Pigeons? I feel like pigeons would get set off as well.
It wasn't allowed, is the right... Well done, audience. Very good. He was in his previous prison, which is why he was called the Birdman. But he was an amazing expert on canaries, so that was his bird of choice. And sparrows. I know, but he didn't keep them in
299, I was
Alcatraz.
one away. Canaries, I said canaries.
And his
What do
name
you
was-
want from me?
Patrick McGowan.
To the rock.
Yes.
Welcome to the rock. One more time, we'll go again. Welcome to the rock. I've done a tour of it.
Have you?
It's great. I liked it a lot.
I
But
worked
they
on the
used to put
show
people in the cells.
Alcatraz. We recreated that cell block on one of our sound
They don't
stages.
have doors that open.
Yes, that's right.
It's put prisoners in them, tourists, I mean, in them, and then one day they couldn't get them out. So they had some tourists in there for 10 hours, and lots of other tourists coming past. Who all suddenly were on much better behaviour.
But nobody survived the swim, even though it seems quite a short distance.
That they
Because
know.
The currents are so strong. Yeah.
Watch the Mythbusters take on Escape from
Of course,
Alcatraz.
is a
It's
word
great.
of what origin would you imagine?
Mexico.
Well,
Imagine.
Spanish language,
Spanish,
yes,
yeah.
indeed. And a lot of the Spanish words come from...
Spain.
Nope, you get points for that.
You were allowed hot showers in Alcatraz, but not cold ones. Why would that be?
No, because I don't know.
It's so that you wouldn't be acclimatised to the cold water.
Cold water.
Yes.
Clever.
You get these Iron Men that do these incredible
probably-
swims. I think someone must have done it.
But some of the
But they have
prisoners who did
special-
escape were never found. So
It was assumed, I think,
it was
to keep the
assumed they were
reputation.
dead, but they may have escaped.
Yeah.
It probably suited everyone.
Yeah, because they didn't want the myth of Alcatraz to die. Who was the first person to put stuff between 2 slices of bread and eat it?
Not the Earl of Sandwich.
Lord Sandwich.
It must have happened anonymously long before.
We know that mankind has been making bread for 30,000 years, and it seems inconceivable that no human being decided to put something between two of those.
So we're just assuming it just must have been ages ago.
1,200 years ago, there was a Hillel the Elder, a rabbi, in which he started the Passover custom, putting a mixture of chopped nuts, apple spices, and wine between two flatbreads.
That's a Peshwari naan.
It's
Oh, no, you said
One
Peshwari.
right now, wouldn't you?
We're just mopping up the end. We put in a good shift, shall we?
I'm dreaming.
I prefer a plain naan.
Oh, what's the matter with you?
So we'll have 5 Peshwari nuns and one for him. John Montagu was the 4th Earl of Sandwich. Certainly gave his name to it in our culture, as it were.
He's on Gogglebox now, the sandwich.
Is he? Oh, my actual God. Last place with -29 is the girl of many faces and voices, Ronni Ancona.
Oh, the shame.
Third place with -11 is Jimmy Carr.
Shame.
With -7, it's David Mitchell.
How am I getting all the Alan wins episodes?
With a plus score. 3 points, Alan Davies. Good night.
Really fun episode, but I feel like I have to take my opportunity to be quite interesting myself. I don't normally get triggered enough by an episode to tell my own stories, but I got triggered twice this episode, so here goes. First of all, let's talk about beluga whales. My first proper summer job was immediately after I graduated high school. I got a job as a groundskeeper at the Vancouver Aquarium. When the Vancouver Aquarium still had killer whales and belugas and dolphins in its exhibits. Public perception of aquariums has changed since 1991. Nevertheless, I did groundskeeping, but one of my regular daily jobs was cleaning all the glass. So one of my daily jobs was cleaning all the glass in the aquarium. All the glass on all the interior aquariums, but also cleaning the partition glass between the seating area, the outdoor seating areas, and the whale exhibits. Both sides of that partition glass, which meant you would have to lean over the rail and reach down and squeegee the glass on the whale side of the tank. Most of the whales and dolphins couldn't care less, but there was one beluga in the beluga pool who thought this was great fun. And as I worked my way along the exhibit glass, he would follow me, bobbing in place, head out of the water, watching me quite closely. And he would also spit at me. They'd take a big old mouthful of seawater from their tank and squirt it directly at me, which was a little annoying when you're trying to clean the glass. But the tourists loved it too, so they would ask me to do it again, and you wouldn't do it regularly, but you want to keep the visitors happy. Nevertheless, I'm familiar with belugas. They like spitting on me. That's my beluga story. The other story, math badges. So I went to a private Canadian school modeled on British schools, wore a shirt and tie, gray flannels. We played rugby and cricket. But one of our more North American trends was when you were in grade 12, our senior year, we all got grad jackets. And they, leather sleeves, sort of that heavy felt varsity jackets to Americans. And that was just sort of, we all, every year the design was slightly different, and it was just sort of a unifying grad class tradition. But you would personalize your jacket by ordering patches for it for the sleeves. And those patches, maybe they were your nickname. More often they were if you were on a team, so it would be first 15 rugby, first 11 soccer, because we called it soccer, not football, that sort of thing. Now, I was a math nerd. I played some sports, but and I put like second 11 soccer on mine, that sort of thing. But I was a math nerd, and we had nationwide math contests. I was one of the top 2 in my year, but school results were always based on the top 3 results in that class. And so I decided, as my little rebellious thing when I was hardly a rebel at all, to do a patch that said first 3 math. And I had never seen one like that before. I thought it was just my little, screw all you jocks, this is what I'm proud of. And I didn't think much of it. I was obviously the only one in my year that did it. But I was really, really pleased, because every so often I revisit my school for a charity event or that sort of thing. And you see grad students now, and I've been there every so often over the last, how many years has it been? Over 30 years now. And inevitably now, I see the odd grad student with a first 3 math badge on their jacket. And I take an inordinate amount of pride in the fact that I think I started that tradition. So, yeah, there's my Mathmos story. We were never called Mathmos. I don't think that one made it across the pond, but if it had, I certainly would have been one. Anyway, a lot of fun this episode. I love David Mitchell. Jimmy Carr's always excellent. But yeah, I felt like this was I hope I find more episodes where I have personally relatable stories like this, and I'll be sure to talk about them at the end, because that's a lot of fun and makes the episode a little different and unique. Anyway, thank you guys so much for spending a little time with me here today on Neil Talks. It means the world to me. And until next time, everybody, take care, stay healthy, and we'll see you soon. Cheers.